Hi there everyone. I feel like I did such a terrible job yesterday in the tutorial session about the posters that I'd re-record it again and just prepare a bit better. I was quite distracted yesterday because I'd had some time critical stuff that needed to get done. So hopefully this will see you right and also be a good resource for you to come back to, because I imagine you won't actually start developing your posters until quite close to the time. So I'll get straight into it. I'll share my screen and I'll talk you through what I'm doing, and we'll start with where we want to head. So this is the poster that I'm going to make for you right now. Basically, I'll start from scratch. I'll just delete everything and then walk you through all the various bits and pieces that I've made here. So I'm working on a Mac, so forgive me if some of the names of things or the locations of bits and pieces are a little bit different if you're working on a PC. First up, I would recommend that you go and turn on your guides. So to turn on guides, you go to View, down to Guides, and make sure it's turned on. I also use the Smart Guides. I find that quite helpful. And then right-click on the side of your page, and then you want to add some guides there. I'm going to leave that one there. Add another one. And this one, I'm just going to have it so it's reasonably close to the edge. I just need to make a little check of the number there so that when I add another one, I'll have another one on the other side about the same place. That will just make it easier to align things on the edge. So this one here is on 40 as well. And likewise, I'll add some horizontals. Okay. And one to the bottom as well. I find it quite helpful to have a little gutter in the middle so that I know what, so I know where the center is, and it also makes it a bit easier to make sure to align those things in the center, you know, particularly like paragraph bits and pieces. First up, you need to make sure that you've set up your page size correctly. I've already put these details in the cheat sheet, but I'll just go through that again. On a Mac, the page size is set up inside File and Page Setup, and you can see that I've adjusted the size to the appropriate bits and pieces here. This is where I got a little bit messed up yesterday when I was using a PC. So we've got our page size, we've got our guides, and the next thing that I'm going to start doing is adding in a banner. So I've previously already pulled together a few images, and I'll just talk you through what I'm going to do here. You'll notice over on the right hand side, I always have my format background and my selection pane already in there. I'll show you how I get those. You go to the Home tab and then click on the down arrow next to Arrange, and then go down to Selection Pane. And the way that you get the image tab in there as well, the image pane, is basically you insert a picture and then double click on it. I'll show you what I mean. So like I said, I've already previously sort of organized an image here. I'm going to insert this laptop here. And let's pop it up about there, I say. And if I double click on it, now I've got the format picture pane up there. So I'll just make sure that that's sitting nice and snug. And I'm also going to crop that so it's not over the top of my image outside the printing area. So right click on top of the picture, go to crop, and then I can pull down that little fella there. Oh, a bit too far. Let's take it back again. There we go. I'm now going to format that picture. Go click on the picture little tab thing there, and I'm going to change the picture transparency, another thing that I had a real problem trying to find yesterday. And also I'm going to colorize it. To recolor in the Mac is in the picture color drop down. You might need to open that up, and I'm going to choose a bluey color. Shall we choose this one here? And then I'm going to make the transparency, that's about 25%, 23%. And I'll just add a little square flourish on the edge of this. I'll adjust this so that it has no line around the outside, and I'll change the color so it's white. And then I'm just going to turn that. I'm going to hold my finger on the shift button so it moves in clunky bits and pieces. Makes it a little bit easier to put it in the right place that way. Now I'm also going to flick over here to the selection pane, and I'm going to start labeling things. So this here, the thing I've clicked on, it will then make that gray. So I'm going to make this, I'm going to call this banner square. That's just going to make it a whole lot easier for me to keep track of my stuff as I arrange it in the page. It doesn't make a lot of sense at the moment, but that'll make a bit more sense in a minute. And then I'll call this banner image. I'm going to put some text on top of that. And and I'll make this super big. Let's make this 120 font size. Fundamentals of poster design. I'm going to change this font into something that I like a bit more. And I'm going to make the space out the, actually, I'll just leave that text the way it is right there at the moment. And I'm going to change the text color of this to white. And that's partly why I made that background a little bit transparent, so it's a bit easier to see. So there's my font color. There we go. Make that white. Let's add a subtext underneath that as well. It's big. Poster design for dummies. And I'm going to spread this text out so it looks a bit more interesting. So this is this little down arrow here. I'm going to click on the more spacing. I'm going to make it basically 20 point. I'm actually going to change this font until it's a nice light font rather than too big. And oh, that's another thing that's worth pointing out. See how I had that text selected? A little trick is if you press the escape button, it will take you back to the boundary box very quickly and easily. And that means it's easier to shift things around. I'm just going to pop that there. Do I make it a little bit longer? No, that's all right. And just to make things a bit easier down the track, I'm going to align it to the right. So all of my text is sort of aligned over there. I'm going to add in another shape here. Let's just add in a blank line. I'm going to hold down my shift button so it sort of links directly onto 45-degree angles, or it might be 15, maybe 15-degree angles. So it's much easier to get it nice and straight. And then over in my format thing over here, I can increase the size of that and change the color because I want that it's white. And I'll just shuffle that down a little bit more. See how, once again, I'm inside that box. If I press the escape, I'll go back to the boundary box and to the handles that will show. Then I'll copy and paste that. And then I'm going to write my name in here. Yeah, we'll make that a little bit smaller. So it all fits in. Actually, what I might do too is not make that quite as wide in terms of its spacing. Okay. And I might just reduce the size of my banner a little bit there. So I'll just move that up a bit more like that. Okay, that might mean that I'll move that up as well. Okay. Righto, so now I'm going to start dropping in bits and pieces into this. Was a poster, but rather than retyping everything and getting all the right formats, I'm just going to copy and paste the title. Obviously, it's not going to show up on here. So once again, I've moved it. And now let's change that to a font color, which is kind of going to be easy to see and match my banner coloring a bit. How about that? And let's make my titles quite a bit smaller. I'm going to make those 90. And let's call this first one Introduction. And I'm just going to insert a text box here. And let's make it nice and big, because when you're printing on large format paper, you do need to have quite large font sizes. So I've made that 32. I'm just going to copy some Lorem Ipsum, which is sort of like the standard graphic design, place it, fill a text, drop that in there just so you can see what it's going to look like. Don't like a better cut. Let's try that. Might make that font a little bit bigger. And let's make it all black. Okay, now I'm also going to add, to try and make my introduction a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to add some sort of icons to sort of summarize what the point of what my poster is. I've already got a few things that I've downloaded, but first up, let's put in a little square here. And let's call this, I'll come back here and tidy up a few things that I've done here, right? Intro box one. Intro text. And I'm going to put one of these sort of white, right, oops, I'll copy and paste that first. Little flourish boxes to make it a little bit more interesting. And I'm going to, like I said, I've already got a little icon that I'm going to drop in over the top of that. So I've saved this here, and I think I talked about how to grab these off Google. And that's in the cheat sheet as well. Okay, so I've got a little scribble image here, which was white. And let's just drop that in there like that. You'll notice that this little flourish box is sitting over the top of that text. So that's that one there. I know that's the box that it is, because when I click on it, it's grayed out over here. And so I'm going to rename this intro, what do we call it? Intro white box. And I'm going to drag this down so that it goes, what I need to do is grab the blue box so it goes underneath it. I need to grab the intro text so it goes above it. And so everything's in the right order now. Then I might want to put a little title underneath that. Let's make it a heap smaller. And let's call it idea number 1. I pressed escape. I can bring that in, and let's center that text. That will just make it a bit easier for us. There you go. Now, rather than having to rebuild all of that again for the second box, so I want to do that 3 times, I can just copy and paste the whole thing. I didn't get my, oh no, that'll be right. Put that in there. And one more time. Now you're probably starting to see why it's so important to label things in the pane, because then it makes it a bit easier to find what thing you need to edit. I'll just bring that to the side so I can grab this. And one more time. And on these boxes as well, while I've got that off, I'm going to go into my box format thingy, and I'm going to change the transparency so that it's going to be much less. Let's have another go. That didn't show. There we are. And how much have I got that one on? 51. Let's make this one here 25. Keep that one at high. And this box here will need to come right to the top. And that box there needs to go above it. And this one here needs to drop down a little bit. Right. I'll insert some more pictures. Now this one is black. You may remember yesterday I was talking about consistency. If we double click on it, go over here in the format picture box, and then change the brightness, we can make that white. I also need to make it align a bit more the other one, but now it's pushed itself outside of that pane. But if I drag it this way, hold my finger on the shift, it will keep the proportions correct and it will fit in that box a bit better. And I've got one more that I've got prepared. Once again, I'll do the same thing, make the brightness white. Oops, I stretched that a little bit, didn't I? There we go, that's it there. I'll show you some other ideas that might be helpful for your own poster, just to make things a bit more interesting. But I might just go through and label some of those boxes. You can see I've gone through and updated all of my layers in the selection pane, just so I can keep track of where things are. I'm now going to create a new section, my methods section. So rather than reinventing the wheel, I'll just copy and paste things. And to keep that same idea, that same sort of theme, I'm going to copy and paste that as well. Hang on, get rid of that one there. And as I did with the other boxes, I'm just going to color them to keep it consistent and make it a little bit more interesting, and also show the flow by using the color as it gets darker throughout the process for my experiment. Okay, now I'm going to add in a results section. So once again, just going to copy and paste things and then rename them. Let's grab this one here. I'm going to show you quickly how to save an Excel spreadsheet. So I'll have to swap my share. So this is a little graph that I've made up about facial hair and the different types of hair that graphic designers like to have on their face. Please note that I've made the colors consistent with my poster inside Excel. Once it's inside PowerPoint, you can't change the colors. So I've made it the same sort of font and the same sort of coloring. And then I right click on the white and save picture as. And I save that to the same place where all of my other files and bits and pieces, or it can be anywhere basically, and then I'll insert it back. So I'll switch back to the other screen share now. So I'll just go and grab that graph. There we are. And I also want to illustrate what kinds of places that graphic designers hang out in, like there, sort of the places that they're most comfortable. So I've got a picture here of a graphic design studio. But the problem with this image, of course, is that it's not consistent with all the other things that I have in my poster. It's the wrong color. Luckily, I can change that inside the format picture pane, and I'm going to go down to the recolor option, and then once again choose a coloring that's going to match my poster here. Let's make it a little bit darker, or maybe what I could do is change the brightness. I'll try and keep the design look the same. So I'll add another one of these. And let's put an arty-farty label over the top. But so it can be seen, I'm going to make it white and make it a bit smaller. Okay, so hopefully it's feeling fairly consistent. And I think I don't need to go through a bit more, clearly there's a few more sections I need to add in here, like acknowledgements and conclusion and those bits and pieces. But one thing I will show you that I've uploaded into the Teams folder is the UOW logo. So I'll just do a few more little things here. So let's just drop a pretend acknowledgements text box, but make it really little. Often things like acknowledgements don't need to be nearly as big as some of the other text. And as I said, I've saved the UOW logo, so you can include that into your poster as well. So hopefully that's been helpful and has showed you how you can put your poster together. Probably not a smart idea just to take what I've done and duplicate it, but add your own spin on it. Remember, as I said yesterday in the lecture, make sure that it's consistent with what your it's a good marriage between what you're actually trying to present, and it's about making sure you include only information which is going to help your conversion, the thing that you want people to do.